right, let's continue talking about switch loops. I want to address the question that people are going to give me. Don't you need a neutral at every switch box? Okay, so with switch loop applications like this top diagram is, you'll notice that in this switch box there really is no true neutral. What do I mean by that? Okay, the bottom diagram is how people normally wire circuits. It's very straightforward. Power from 14.2 goes to my switch. Again, it doesn't utilize the neutral because it's not a load, right? So it passes through, and then we bring 14.2 to our light. For a switch loop, it's backwards. We're running power to our light first, and it'll still work, and it's still code compliant, okay? So we have our true neutral from the source going to our load, and the black, the hot, is actually going to pass through. Remember, if we went right to our light, it would be hot all the time, and we want this light to be switch controlled. From the black, we're going to tie on to the white of this 14.2 going to the switch, but let's remember, we don't need a neutral at that switch, right? Or a switch doesn't utilize a neutral because it's not a load. So we're going to use it as an ungrounded conductor to supply power to the switch, okay? And in that case, we have to re-identify that white conductor black, and again, it can only supply power to the switch, and then from the switch, when we turn it on, it brings power back to the light, and then power will return on that true neutral path. But again, this doesn't have a neutral sitting in the box, okay? So people are gonna say, doesn't the code say we need a neutral in a box? And it does. But again, I want to reiterate, these are not contradictory codes. The code does allow us to use switch loops. So what do people mean when they say we need a neutral in the box? So let's open up our code books and find out, get some clarity. Okay, so I'm going to read out of the 2026 NEC, but before I do, I'm assuming most people don't use the 2026. So if you're reading in the 2023, you're going to go to article 404.2c. In the 2026, it's actually 406.30c, okay? But it says the same information. Let me read and you follow along. The grounded circuit conductor for the controlled lighting circuits shall be installed at the location where switches control lighting loads that are supplied by a grounded general purpose branch circuit serving bathrooms, hallways, stairways, and habitable rooms or occupiable spaces as defined in the applicable building code. Let me pause there. This basically says in every space that you can think of, habitable space, occupiable spaces, right, which is pretty much everywhere, you need a neutral in that switch box, okay? But there's more to this code. Let's read. Where multiple switch locations control the same lighting load, such that the entire floor area of the room or space is visible from the single or combined switch locations, the grounded circuit conductor shall only be required at one location, okay? So if you're in a room and there's multiple switches that control the same lighting source such that it illuminates the entire room, only at one of those locations do you actually need a neutral. So that's why we're allowed to use switch loops in other locations, because there is a true neutral at one of those switch boxes, okay? In another part of this video, or in another part of this series, I'll lay out some possible reasonings why we need a neutral in a switch box and why it's only necessary by code standards to have it in one location, but stay tuned for more. There'll be a part 3, 4, 5 to this series. Comment down below if you have any questions, if you need any more clarity. Again, we're here to help electricians get their hands in the codebook, get refreshed in the codebook so that they can pass their licensing exam. So any questions, lay them on me. Thanks.